Here's a quick overview of, as you can probably see, my favorite house, Frederic Malle. Now, before getting into Frederic Malle, I was into perfume. I owned a few Comme des Garçons. I wore Dior Bois d'Argent, but it was the first real niche sort of frag head experience that got me into it. Now, I remember going to the Frederic Malle boutique here in New York City to pick out which one, and there's nothing like discovering a house for the first time. Now, kind of strangely, my very first choice was Chrono Flower. I think a lot of Frederic Malle is kind of subtle, needs to be worn several times to get the nuance and get what makes it so good. But there's a few powerhouses like Chrono Flower and Portrait of a Lady that instantly you know there's something special. I have a really nice scent memory of wearing Chrono Flower on one of those freezing cold days with a super hot, bright sun. I remember riding the bus and falling asleep against the bus window and just smelling Chrono Flower radiating off my skin as the sun beat down. As you can see, I noticed the packaging changed a little bit. My older bottles have this on the back. Newer ones have this. I did try the matte caps before I knew anything about fragrance. I remember going to Barney's looking for something else, and the lady was trying to introduce me to this new line, Frederic Malle, and I just had no interest in it at the time. But when I look back, I wish I had known, what she was showing me, and that I might have purchased some of those matte caps back then. But still, I'm not a reform fanatic. I think they're all fantastic to this day. I've even had some comparisons of older ones that I've rebought that still smell great to my nose. Chrono Flower, I wore the heck out of it when I first got it. I think I even went a bit nose blind because I must have been blasting people around me because I started to think, oh, it's not so strong. But now I find it so strong that I do a mist and walk through, and that's plenty for the day. The second fragrance I bought is probably my all-time most worn, and that's Bois d'Orage, which now they've officially changed to French Lover everywhere. The SA had this interesting French Lover packet from Liberty London she gave me, even though I bought this in New York, because at the time it was sort of unique to have the French Lover version, although now I think they're all called that. As you can see, I'm getting low. I'm contemplating buying a backup. Not so much because I'm worried about reformulation, but prices seem to always be rising, so it's better to buy now than wait and pay more later. The next thing I believe I bought was summertime was Eau de Magnolia. Being a rather light perfume, I wore the heck out of this and actually burned through a 50 ml in one summer. Went back and bought the 100. Another one that's backup worthy to me. It's a summer staple, something I never get tired of wearing. I think after that, I got Cologne in Delaware. This one, I don't always feel like wearing it. It does a weird kind of disappearing act in the first few hours, but then suddenly several hours more later, the musks start pumping out on your skin. And I have really great memories of wearing this on a super hot day, going back home at night and sort of in the night air, feeling those sort of fresh, but also sort of, sexy, warm, almost suntan lotion musks. It's a really nice one. Let's see, what did I buy next after that? I think the next purchase was Geranium Formicure. I love this one. I also went through a 10 ml before buying this, so that's why there's not a lot gone from here. Another summer staple. The mint is wonderful, very herbal, but the best part is the dry down is this nice musky, herbal, woody kind of hum to it. It's very quiet and subtle, but still noticeable. A lot of Frederic Malle's, I think they really blend perfectly with your skin, and Frederic has actually talked about wanting this effect, that the perfume shouldn't sit apart from you, but should kind of meld with your body. And I think they do have that effect, sometimes to their detriment, because you might be wearing one and think it's long gone, because you've just sort of gotten so used to it in your own skin. But I've had people notice, say I smell wonderful wearing Geranium Formicure when I thought it was long gone. Another story of that, when I first got Bois d'Orage, again, probably a bit nose blind from wearing it so much. I remember getting kind of frustrated, spraying maybe 4, 5, 6 sprays, which is a lot for me. And it's actually a Dover street market, and the sales assistant just said, something smells wonderful in here. And at the time I thought, I don't know what she's talking about. And later I realized it was probably me because I was wearing a lot of water rush that day. Next, another one, I finished a 10 ml over several years, and then finally bought a full bottle en passant. Again, indispensable, beautiful spring, fall fragrance. Another light wear, but it's gorgeous. All of these actually have nice scent memories. I brought the 10 ml with me to Iceland, and it always reminds me of that trip and of nature, cool weather, strong winds. The only downside I can say about buying 10 mLs is when they run out, it feels sort of like a boring purchase to repurchase a full bottle. Sort of like, yeah, I know this perfume, but I do want to have it around. So it's often the case that I really sort of drag my feet about buying the full bottle, even knowing well that I love the fragrance. The next one I think I bought was Angélique Sous la Pluie. Last summer, I really sort of got into Jean-Claude Elena. I really discovered the Hermescence line. I got Neroli Doré, which hardly lasts, but I started to really love, especially during the pandemic, the idea of wearing several light perfumes in a day. And Angélique is perfect for that. Again, it does leave a long-lasting, very faint, spicy trail. But, you know, to some noses, it disappears within 20, 30 minutes like a real cologne. I can smell it for several hours, and again, still get whiffs of it in the wind 4 or 5 hours later. But it's such a wonderful, natural, sort of wet woods smell. Right before this, of course, I bought Rosé Cuir. I like it a lot, but it's pretty strong and also pretty unique. Not the kind of thing I feel like I want to wear all the time. So I went with 50 ml. In retrospect, I kind of also think it's, you know, Jean-Claude Elena. It's like a work of art. I feel like I should have the 100 ml. Maybe I'll upgrade. Again, recent purchase. I tried it a bunch, but always kind of thought having Clone Indelible, Bigger Out Concentrate wasn't necessary, but they are totally different in the way they wear. This summer I decided, you know, it's time to get Bigger Out Concentrate. Again, I thought 50 ml, it's a citrus. Maybe I'll just burn through 150 ml in the summer. Didn't happen. I have too many things now. But again, I've fallen in love with it and now kind of thinking I might need 100 ml at some point. And my most recent purchase, Vetiver Extraordinaire. Again, one I've had a long affair with. It's wonderful, but again, not the most exciting purchase because it's sort of like a workhorse fragrance, something you can wear every day, never get tired of it, it's not offensive. Again, wears light, but sort of has a long-lasting musky trail. And I find that sort of, you know, a characteristic of all the Frederic Malle fragrances, that none of them wear especially heavy except for Portrait of a Lady and Chrono Flower. But they all have a really lovely, subtle, long-lasting sillage. And again, I think that can make them hard to appreciate for some, but sort of familiarity breeds fondness. There's lots of other perfumes where it's the other way around. The more you wear them, the more they start to annoy you, the quicker you get tired of them. Frederic Malle are really growers. So I think that's all the full bottles. Here I've got stacked the boxes. Now, kind of my Malles on probation are all these 10 mLs that I haven't bought full bottles of yet. Musk Ravageur took me a long time to like, and I still only kind of like it. I find it, you know, very warm, really nice at the opening. Not crazy about the dry down. It goes sort of a little towards like a musky basement smell to me. Noir Épice, also really interesting, really wonderful. Not crazy about the dry down, which goes a little old-fashioned for me. Music for a while. Again, I think artistic merit of this is fantastic. I almost want a bottle for that. But again, a strong one with a lot of personality that I don't always feel like. Portrait of a Lady, again, astonishing opening. The way the patchouli dries down here, again, it's sort of dusty in a way that I don't like. But I do remember one winter trying it at Barney's, I got some on my scarf, and that scarf smelled amazing for the whole entire winter. Just pick up Synthetic Jungle, really good. I'll probably buy a big bottle. East Mediterranean, I go between love and hate of this one as well. I'm not sure why. It's a very weather, seasonal specific thing. In spring, it's wonderful. The rest of the year, I don't really feel like it. From the Therese, also really interesting, surprisingly subtle fragrance. I'm not big on fruity fragrances, and it's sort of big on the fruits. Une Fleur de Cassis, this is amazing. I find it actually not that challenging, like the other Ropions. It has a super long lasting sort of musky dry down, which is really wonderful. But again, one I don't feel like wearing all the time, but maybe a 50 ml is in my future. Here's a few freebies. Really super duper don't like Promise. Of the Desert Gems, I've only tried also a little sample of the Moon. Oud's not really my jam. This is just too smoky, it's nasty, it's tarry, it's bitter. I don't find a lot to love in Promise, but I guess the Oud bros are into, you know, a bitter, smoky sort of stink cloud. So that's my Frederic Malle collection. I've sort of got all my perfumes out here as I'm reorganizing for fall, so maybe I'll go over a few other collections. If you want to hear more about any of these, let me know and I'll try to do a more thorough review. And I hope you enjoyed. Thanks.